He grabbed his phone out of my hands so fast I almost dropped it. I was 8 months pregnant, standing in our new place, looking at message after message after message from other women. Not one woman, not two. Dozens that I could see in seconds, and maybe far more than that. Then he started deleting everything right in front of me. And in that moment, with my stomach turning and my baby moving inside me, I realized I might have tied my life to someone I never actually knew. My name is Ava, and his name is Marcus. I got pregnant 2 weeks after we started dating. I know how that sounds. Fast, reckless, maybe even stupid to some people, and honestly, I've said all of that to myself already. But when you're in it, it doesn't feel that simple. At the beginning, Marcus seemed calm, steady, present. He said all the things you want to hear when your life suddenly changes overnight. That we would figure it out. That I wasn't alone. That he wanted this with me even if it wasn't planned. And I believed him. We moved forward quickly because we had to. Doctor appointments, conversations about money, looking for a place together, trying to act like we were building something solid even though the foundation had barely been poured. I told myself maybe this was just an unusual start to a real life. Maybe messy beginnings could still lead somewhere good. For a while, I tried very hard to see him as my partner, and not just the man I happened to get pregnant by. That sounds harsh, but it's true. I wanted us to become a real couple, not just two people caught in a situation. So I leaned in, I tried. I made excuses when things felt off because I wanted peace, and because pregnancy already makes everything feel bigger than it is. There were little things at first. He kept his phone close, but a lot of people do that. He would smile at notifications and turn the screen away without even thinking about it. Sometimes he'd be weirdly distant for an hour or two, then come back cheerful like nothing had happened. And I let go, because what was I supposed to do? Start a war every time his phone lit up? I want you to remember this moment. The red flags usually don't arrive as some huge obvious disaster. They come as small moments you can explain away if you're tired enough, hopeful enough, or scared enough. And I was all three. I was growing a baby. My body didn't feel like mine anymore. I was exhausted all the time. Some days I just wanted one peaceful evening where nobody disappointed me and nothing needed to be solved. So when he seemed distracted, I told myself he was stressed. When he pulled away a little, I told myself he was scared about becoming a father. When he avoided certain conversations, I told myself maybe men just process things differently. Isn't that what people always say when they don't want to look too closely? We moved into a place together not long before all of this happened. That made everything feel more serious, more official. We had a home now. Shared bills, shared furniture, shared plans, things with our names attached to them. I think a part of me believed that if a man is building a home with you while you're carrying his child, surely he must be in it for real. Surely that has to mean something. But looking back, I can see how often I was trying to calm myself down with logic that had never actually been earned. I was handing out trust in advance and calling it maturity. Marcus knew how to play normal. He wasn't some cartoon villain walking around, acting shady every second of the day. That would have been easier. He was affectionate when it counted, helpful when people were watching, good at sounding sincere. He knew how to look like a man stepping up, and maybe that's what made it worse. Because I wasn't trying to trust some obviously reckless guy who never even pretended to care. I was trying to trust a man who had learned how to perform stability just well enough that I could keep talking myself out of my own instincts. At the time, I had no idea what this meant. I thought if there was a problem, it would be something small, a few inappropriate messages, maybe flirting, maybe one stupid lapse in judgment. Something ugly, yes, but contained. I had no idea I was standing on the edge of something much bigger. The day I found out started in a way that now feels almost cruel in how normal it was. There was no dramatic setup, no warning music, no big fight earlier that day. Just an ordinary moment in our place where I happened to see enough to make my chest go cold. It was ex-Twitter. Whatever people want to call it now, I saw messages. At first I thought maybe I was reading it wrong. My brain didn't even want to process what I was looking at. But then I saw more. Different women, different conversations, different names, and what I found next changed everything. It wasn't one thread, it wasn't one lapse, it was a pattern. I only had seconds, maybe less than a minute, but it was enough. Enough to see that he had been messaging women over and over again. Enough to know this wasn't some random interaction from one bad night. Enough to feel that sick, drop in my stomach where your body understands the truth before your mind can even catch up. I was 8 months pregnant. That detail matters because people hear betrayal and think heartbreak, anger, humiliation, and yes, all of that was there. But there was also something else, something physical. I felt dizzy. My body went hot and then cold. My hands started shaking. My stomach tightened, and for a second all I could think was, not now. Please, not now. Not like this. I remember staring at the screen and feeling like the room had gone slightly unreal. Do you know that feeling when your life is still technically there, still arranged in front of you exactly as it was 10 seconds ago, but suddenly none of it looks familiar? The same walls, the same floor, the same man. But now everything is contaminated by what you know. That's what it felt like. I kept scrolling as fast as I could. There were so many messages that my brain stopped trying to count. Dozens at least, maybe far more. Possibly our whole relationship, possibly from the very beginning. And the worst part was that I didn't even get to the bottom of it before he realized what I was seeing. He took the phone from me, not gently, not calmly. He snatched it and immediately started deleting everything. I just stood there and watched him erase the evidence while I was still trying to breathe through the shock of seeing it in the first place. That part broke something in me more than the messages did, because messaging other women is betrayal. But watching him delete it in real time, watching him protect himself instead of stopping to think about what this was doing to me, made the whole thing feel even colder. There was no pause, no let me explain, no immediate remorse, just panic, deletion, self-preservation. I want you to remember this moment. People tell on themselves most clearly in the first few seconds after they get caught, not after they've had time to craft an excuse, not after they've worked out which version makes them look least guilty. In that raw first reaction, you usually see exactly where their loyalties are. His loyalty was to hiding it. I asked him what I had just seen, and even as I said the words, I could hear how thin my voice sounded. Not dramatic, not screaming, just weak with disbelief. He tried to make it smaller right away. He said it wasn't what I thought. He said they were just messages, just talking, just stupid online stuff, nothing physical, nothing serious. But how do you make something like that small? How do you tell your 8 months pregnant partner that you've been spending your time reaching out to woman after woman after woman and expect her to accept that as meaningless? Since when does repeated disrespect become harmless just because it happened through a screen? At the time, I had no idea what this meant, not in the practical sense, not in the emotional sense. I didn't know if he had met any of them. I didn't know how long it had been going on. I didn't know if X was the only place. I didn't know what had already been deleted before I even touched the phone. And that uncertainty was almost worse than the truth I had already seen, because now my mind had room to invent everything. Every lie, every hidden conversation, every time he looked me in the face and acted normal after talking to someone else. I asked him one question. How long? He looked at me and said, "It's not like that." I said, "That's not what I asked." He started talking fast after that, too fast. The kind of talking people do when they are trying to outrun the facts. He said it didn't mean anything. He said he was stupid. He said guys do dumb things online. He said he never thought I'd see it. Which honestly was maybe the most honest thing he said all night. I told him to stop. I said, "I am 8 months pregnant. We live together. We have things tied together. And you're sitting here trying to tell me that messaging dozens of women means nothing." He got quiet then, not because he understood, because he knew he had run out of room. And what I found next changed everything. It hit me that I wasn't even arguing with him about one act. I was arguing with the fact that his whole character had become questionable in a single evening. Because once someone can lie that casually and hide that calmly and erase that quickly, what exactly are you standing on anymore? I asked him if it had been going on our whole relationship. He said, "I don't know." That answer made me feel physically sick. Not even a clean lie. Just, "I don't know," like our relationship was such a blur of dishonesty that he couldn't even map it himself. I told him I didn't know who he was, and for the first time that night, that sentence felt fully true when I said it. He tried apologizing after that, the soft voice, the regret, the promise that it would stop, the claim that it wasn't about me, that I wasn't inadequate, that he was messed up, that he was scared, that he loved me. Maybe some of that was even true, but love without respect starts to sound like noise. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't throwing things. I was just done pretending I could absorb one more blow and still call it normal. So I told him I needed space. I told him I could not sit there and comfort him through his own betrayal. Not while carrying his child, not while standing in a home that suddenly didn't feel safe in the emotional sense, even if the doors still locked. That night didn't end with some perfect decision. I wish it had. I wish I could say I packed a bag or kicked him out or had some clear answer rise up in me like strength in a movie. But real life is uglier than that. Real life has leases and shared assets and a baby due soon and a body too exhausted to keep up with your own panic. So no, I didn't become instantly certain. I sat with it. I cried in the bathroom quietly because I didn't want to give him the performance of my pain. I thought about the baby. I thought about money. I thought about where I would even go. I thought about how humiliating it is to realize you may have built a future around a man who was secretly entertaining strangers online the whole time. But underneath all of that, one thought kept returning. This is not small. That mattered. Because I could already feel the pressure trying to creep in. The pressure to minimize it because of the timing. Because I was pregnant. Because we lived together. Because leaving would be hard. Because forgiving would be more convenient for everyone except me. And I knew I had to resist that. So I stopped asking, can I get over this? And I started asking a better question. What would it cost me to stay if this is who he really is? I want you to remember this moment. Sometimes the turning point in a story is not when you catch someone. It's when you finally stop helping them hide from the meaning of what they did. I still don't have every answer. I don't know the full extent of it because he deleted so much. I don't know whether this is forgivable for me specifically. I don't know what our future looks like. But I do know this. I am not stupid for being hurt by this, and I am not overreacting because it happened online. He broke trust. He disrespected me at the exact time in my life when I was most vulnerable. And now I have to make decisions from that truth, not from the fantasy I was trying so hard to preserve. Sometimes the hardest part is not being betrayed. It's accepting that love cannot survive where respect is missing. Let me know in the comments, did they deserve it, or did this go too far? And if you've been through something similar, share your story below.